During the COVID-19 emergency, people have been turning to local news sources to better understand what is going on and hear what they should be concerned about. In the age of instant information, the Kingstonist fills that need by producing and publishing stories prepared in the traditional newspaper style, but distributed when ready and online through the website www.thekingstonist.com. And I'm joined today by one of the co-publishers and the chief editor, Tori Stafford. Tori, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Hey, Bill. No problem. Pleasure to be here.
How different is this from the pre-pandemic emergency activity? What changes have you seen, both expected and unexpected?
It is very different. I would say that, normally when something is the main news, it dominates quite a bit of my time. This dominates about 99% of my time at this point. We're hyper local, as you know. Obviously, we focus directly at Kingston. Sometimes we report on the surrounding areas through Frontenac County, Loyalist Township. But there's, as everyone knows, not a lot going on right now. So that in and of itself puts us in a tough place for finding new story ideas or even just general things. I mean, council last week was about 90% COVID-19 related as well. So yeah, it's very different. I don't think I expected it to initially. I definitely didn't expect it to carry out this long. I don't think any of us did. But I definitely didn't expect it to dominate my life.
Okay. Do you think that this is easier or harder?
In a sense, there's something easier about it in that I'm focusing on one subject predominantly. And when I'm going back to look at the numbers, I remember the numbers from the day before, 15 minutes ago, because I'm so committed to that. Otherwise, it is way more difficult. It's way more difficult to find sources. It's way more difficult to find people that want to talk. A lot of people just don't want to say anything because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. And the stress and the amount of responsibility that people in my position feel right now is immense.
Without spilling any trade secrets, what are your sources of information?
Public health, first and foremost. The Ministry of Health. I am in communication with KFLNA Public Health at least twice a day, whether they like it or not. The occasional attempt to speak with frontline workers or people that are trying to bring attention to layoffs, people that have been laid off. The issue there is that no one wants to talk because everybody's so uncertain. And the last thing I want to do is ever put a source in a position where they could come out of an interview or article in a worse position than they were in the first place. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's a lot of tight lips, and it's my job to try and get them wagging.
Okay. Well, separating fact from fiction has always been a key role, if not the primary role, of the news media. Has it been difficult to fulfill this role?
Yes, just from an accessibility standpoint. Obviously, when it comes to drilling down on what is fact and what is not, the trusted resource is going to be public health or the Ministry of Health. And accessing people, getting people to do a sit-down interview is very difficult, solely based on the amount of time that they have, which is next to nothing. Having said that, when I am able to formulate exactly what it is I want to discuss with someone from public health locally has been more than willing to provide me with someone to speak with about that. I've got an article coming out hopefully tomorrow with regard to the use of different face masks, what's good for what does what makes people safer, and how they might be employed as we move forward. And I can only thank Public Health for helping me walk through about 45 questions to distill what is true and what is not, because as this pandemic goes on, you see a lot more advertising that's directed at COVID-19 online, people trying to sell a lot of PPE that A, should be reserved for primary frontline healthcare workers, and B, is not certified, so you don't even know if it's worth your time or money. So I guess really what it comes down to is being able to access the people that are able to answer the questions. And at the end of the day, a lot of the time, even those people don't know the answers because we're moving day by day, minute by minute, and sometimes in the middle of writing an article, what I'm writing about changes, and that's not a joke. It's happened easily 25 times in the last couple of weeks.
How do you deal with something that is just really bad information or advice?
So I've been really leery about addressing. There's obviously a plethora of different groups or individual people that are trying to make a difference in different ways. So handing out food to those that are vulnerable, making face masks and PPE for the general public and sometimes for healthcare workers. My fear in covering those things is the more people that do that, the more people we have getting out on the road to get supplies to make things, and then also getting out on the road to deliver things. And when we don't know how long the virus can last on certain fabrics or materials, I mean, we know that it can last for days on cardboard. So if you're dropping off a box and somehow come in contact with the virus on the way to wherever you're dropping it off, you're risking contaminating a whole batch of what you and other people have just spent hours on end working towards. So I've been really, really leery about that. If it's like flagrantly bad advice or just false information, my go-to standpoint is to ignore it unless it becomes something that I see circulating broadly, at which point it's our job to step in and address it. Luckily, we haven't had a lot of that here. We did have people saying for a while there that the police were ticketing people left, right, and center. That was not true at all. In fact, I still don't think that they've laid a fine in the city of Kingston at all. But I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is trying to think of how covering something is going to impact the reader. And my overarching theme is to keep people safe and at home as much as possible until we get the directive from public health otherwise.
Okay, so moving to the future, when this is all over, how do you see recovery happening in the community, and how do you see your role, the Kingstonists' role in assisting in this recovery?
As I was mentioning earlier, the responsibility that I feel is tremendous, and I'm not, first of all, I think of it as a blessing that people are coming to us for information. I love my job, and I wouldn't be doing it otherwise. I think everything is going to have to roll out slowly, and it's our job to deliver that information to the public when public health, the city, the library boards, the conservation areas, whenever anyone has something that's going to change, it's our job to make sure that people know that. And we intend to continue doing that until, and I think until is the key point there, because we don't know when that is.
How are you holding out in all of this?
It's tough. It's really tough. It's exhausting. And there are days that I just don't know what I'm going to do next, because I feel like I'm at the end of every rope that I'm trying to pull to get more information. But I'm really enlightened and inspired by the people that are telling us that the information we're getting to them is important to them. And as long as that continues to be the case, I won't back down.
Okay, well, listen, that's great to hear, and your work is appreciated. We do like to know that hey, what's going on, everything that's happening is great to know. Tori, thank you very much for taking the time out to speak with me today. Really do appreciate it, And now go be safe, go take some rest, relax.
Thank you.
Tomorrow's another day for more stories. You be careful.
You be safe as well, Bill.
Thank you.